ancient story that is woven into the fabric of this Christmas season, and yet it remains mysterious until, perhaps, now. It's the story of the three kings who came bearing gifts to worship the infant Jesus, the Magi. And it's straight from the Gospel of Matthew. Wise men came from the east. The verse reads, but who were the Magi? Incredibly, a new discovery has offered new insight into that question, and the revelation of the Magi is tonight's Faith Matters.
Greetings, sisters and brothers. I'm about to read. After eons of being disconnected from the higher dimensional frequencies, our DNA is awakening. The original divine blueprint is being restored. Again, I say welcome, my sisters and my brothers, to the playroom at Per Netter Kemet here in Los Angeles. I am the Jedi Knight, not the Jedi Knight, I am the Jedi, which is a title, Knight of Per Netter Kemet, aka the Church of Divinity, or COD, of ancient Egypt. And this is the story of the Magi, or wise men, or kings. Maybe they were all three. This is a story as told by them in their revelations, which I will show you in a little while. This is their own revelation, their own books in their own words, as far as I know. Besides their revelation, I will show some things from my own research into my own self and background. So what is a Jedi? I am a teacher of Magi. I'm saying Magi, or Magi rather, because this is the word most of you are familiar with. Some of you who have studied ancient Kemet, which is Egypt, may know about the Magi of Nubia. We'll talk about that a little bit. So as I said, I should warn you first, I am low tech, like no budget. So what I do on here will be in pictures and in words. And if you don't like it, so as I said, I'm researching my own self and my background as Magi, or Magi, as it is spelt it should be Magi, but that's a whole nother situation. So why, or what gives me the authority to talk about the Magi? Well, I was trained in a temple. That is a temple in Brooklyn, and I'm standing about halfway in the temple. In front of me is about another, as much as you see in back of me is about as much as in front of me. I taught there, I lived there, and I learned there. So that is part of my background, of my training. So this video is about the book called Revelation of the Magi, or Magi, or however the heaven you want to pronounce it. And as I said, this is supposed to be a book or a revelation written by the Magi themselves. Now, anyone who has researched this subject knows that the story of the Magi is in Matthew, in what is called the Holy Bible. But this is the whole story right here. This page and this page. And I think there may be a little bit more on a third page, but that is the story in the biblical Bible, in that book that y'all believe in. Now, I can kind of understand that the story has been cut short because there are many books in the Bible, and some been taken out, whole books about it. We're not going to go into that. But let's clear up at least one misconception, because I know some of you like, well, I'm Muslim, or I'm Hebrew, or I'm this, or I'm that, and I don't believe in the Magi. Well, but as you drive around or walk around the city around this time of year, what do you see everywhere? Do you see statues of Muhammad? Do you see statues of any of the Hebrew guys, Moses or anything? No. You see Jesus in the manger with the three Magi. Oh, wait a minute. Here is a page from the so-called Holy Bible. And right there where I got the star. Now after, I'm reading from the page. Now after Jesus, I don't believe in that name, because right there, right here in this book, it says, the Most High said, name my son Emmanuel. Let's find that. I think I put it away somewhere. Anyway, it says, name my son Emmanuel. So where to get Jesus? Where to get Yeshua? Where to get, I don't know, whole nother story. But anyway, let's keep on reading. Number 2, or what do you call it? Passage 2 of Matthew. Now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men came from the east to Jerusalem. It didn't say 3 wise men. Do you know where they got the 3 wise men from? Because it mentions 3 gifts: frankincense, myrrh, and gold. It could have been more gifts, but it mentioned those 3 gifts, so they said, well, it must have been 3 magi. This page doesn't say only 3 magi. I just wanted to clear that part up. Let's move on. Now, let me show you some pictures of magi. Now, first of all, why, if you're teaching cannabis kung fu, why are you talking about the Magi? I'll get to that in a moment too. But first, let me show you a picture of a statue of a Magi, probably from the Persian order of Magi, because you see the little knot on the head. You see mine is on the side, different Magi. Or we are Magi. Whole nother story, I'll get into that. But this statue of a dancing Magi is in China. What is it doing in China? Now here's a picture. It's a bad picture. It used to be on a book. I can't think of the name of the book right now. But here's a picture of what a real Magi may look like. And then here's a picture of a real Magi. A Magi warrior. As Magi, we learn many things. Martial art is just one of the things. Now, here's a well-known portrait of the Magi. Now, if you notice, you have three brothers up front, right? So, okay, three Magi, right? But why would the king, Herod the king, be worried about three dudes, especially if they were really brothers? Why would Herod the king be worried about three guys coming into town? Because they probably came with a crew of Magi. It wasn't just three of them. They came with the crew. And Herod was like, what y'all gonna do? And they was like, we came to find the king of the Jews. Read it. It didn't say the king of the world, the king of the universe. We came to give reverence, not worship. We came to give reverence to all of us. Came to give reverence to the king of the Jews. Read it. I'm not making this stuff up. So I have a friend in New York. He wrote a book about Mentuhotep, the way he pronounces it, Mentuhotep. And I mention him because I do believe that the word magi comes from Magi. If you're an archaeologist, they follow words from culture to culture and say canna, cannabis, cannabalsam, blah, blah, blah. So they know that, they talking about cannabis wherever you go. So we used to be called Magi. Now this book is about Magi. Well, it's about Mentuhotep, but he was a Magi. So the story gets into it. Another book that I've done research or used for research is Magi, written by Adrian G. Gilbert. Oh, before I forget, Mentuhotep and the Spirit of the Magi. I spell it with an I because my teacher said, why do we have a Y when we have an I? Anyway, so, and this is the author, brother that I know from New York. Matter of fact, he started teaching in the space where I used to teach. Imfundushi Jahumis Hassan Salim. So he has other books out also. And then, like I said, then I studied the Magi by Adrian G. Gilbert. Now, this book goes into his research trying to find evidence of the biblical Magi. So he has pictures in here, of the travels, all his travels, and taking pictures of. Now, we always end up going back to Kemet, or what they call ancient Egypt. It all started here. Your Masonic, your Hollywood, the Magi did not start there. But they helped build ancient Kemet. You understand? Overstand, understand? So the book is called Magi, but you sure have a lot of ancient Kemetic stuff in here. You understand, overstand, understand? So ancient Kemet, like this temple is named Per Neter Kemet, it all starts with ancient Egypt. So now the last book that I'm going to show you, because there are others, but these ones are specifically about the Magi. Now this book that I read and researched is the actual book or the actual revelation of the Magi. In other words, it is the book that which should be in the Bible that the Magi themselves wrote down. And I have an autographed copy. Nah. Anyway, so as you notice, the three Magi look a little different on this book, and this book is by Brent Landau. So this Brent Landau is supposed to have been a researcher who went to the Vatican and found this transcript written in Syriac, and this is supposed to be a translation of this. This is supposed to be the original. And this book is the translation. So this is what I'm going to be focusing on in this video is the revelation of the Magi. I'll talk about the movie and the play later. So, I guess first I should say, what did I do with it? Anyway, who were the Magi or Magi or Magi? Let's introduce Revelation of the Magi. Introduction. The compiler has provided his own descriptive title for the work that follows. About the revelation of the Magi, or Magi, and their coming to Jerusalem, about the gifts they brought to Christ. The text presents itself as the personal testimony of the Magi, or however the heaven you want to pronounce it. These Magi are called by that name because they pray in silence. I get it, but that's not really what Magi mean. In their silent prayer, they glorify, in here they say, Father of the heavenly majesty. In reality, there is no male, there is no female on that level. Both male and female have created us. Whole nother story. So, the Heavenly Father, who is above all human thought, the only way in which the lower and upper worlds can speak about him is if the Mother Father, we just say it, if it wills to reveal itself to them by means of a gift. So, why do I have a channel that says Cannabis Kung Fu, but here I'm talking about the Magi? Well, first of all, it's Christmas. Today, right now, is December 25th, 2025. In a little bit, it's going to be 2026. And I've been wanting to do this for years, but I've been told not to until now because, as I said at the beginning, our DNA is waking up. The Kung Fu system I'm going to be teaching on here is about enhancing your DNA. We're going to get deep. That's why I've been holding back so long. We're going to get like stupid deep. So let's continue with the revelation of the Magi. Well, first let me tell you why. What did I do with it? Okay, so why am I talking about the Magi, who most people think are Persian or Egyptian or, think are from different cultures? Why am I talking about them on a Kung Fu channel? Well, I just want to go over some of the facts that's in the book. What I do with the book? It's in the book. I am not making this up. I am not. Now, I might interject what I think about it, but I am not making this up. If you get the book, I'll probably put the whole book on video. But anyway, let's go over some of the points, a few of the points in the book. So we already established that there were probably more than 3 Magi. If they came all the way from somewhere, why would the king of Jerusalem be like, who are those guys? Bring them to me. How did he know they came? It was a bunch. They came with a crew. Anyway, let's move on. So, in that book, Revelation of the Magi, they say they are from the land of Shir. Shir. Now, when you do the scholarly research, you find out that most scholars believe that the land of Shir is in China. Wait. Did I not just show you a picture of a Magi statue dancing? He was dancing in China. And around that time that statue was made, in China they had shaman called Wu, mostly women when it started. And those Wu are the ones who created the I Ching. I'll get into that on the other side of the temple. So, they are from the land of Shir. Why is that important? Scholars think that Shir is in China somewhere, or was in China somewhere. In Chinese, the word Shir, the same word, means 12, like 10, 12, like in 12 disciples. Oh, it gets better. This is handwritten. I should have did it a little better, but this is no budget production. So you see that right there? That little cross and them little lines that look like equal something. Well, that cross and those 2 lines are the symbol that they use in Chinese to say the word 12, Shir. So the cross is 10 and the 2 lines is 11 and 12. Okay? My interpretation. It don't say this in the book. If I look at this Chinese word 12, Shir, it looks like a cross and a road to me. What do it look like to you? Do it look like a positive sign and an equal sign? That's stupid because it's a Chinese word. Shir, 12. 12 disciples walking on a road with a guy who they made a cross after. That part, I might be reaching a little bit, but God dag nabbit, look at the symbol, look at the dag nabbit word. Let's move on. Research it yourself if you don't believe. My teacher used to say, don't believe me, check it out. So this is also the symbol for the universal clock. I don't know. I don't have no explanation for that one. So this is supposed, Shir is the land of the Magi. 12. They come from 12 with a cross on a road. So they get to Jerusalem with this story. The book never mentions a name, not Jesus, not Yahshua, none of that, none of that, none of that. It just says the child Christ. Then at the end, it looks like they just threw something in there. This guy comes from, he's a follower of Jesus, and all of a sudden he comes find the Magi, and he's like, follow Jesus. Wait a minute, they didn't say that name through the whole book. Bullshit. Anyway, so, I just wanted to go over that. That's the little thing that I had written down that's been bugging me for the longest. I wanted to put this on video. God dang nabbit. That's why I'm talking about the Magi on this channel that's talking about Kung Fu. Because these guys was, according to them, may have came from China. Now, at the time of Jesus, what was they practicing in China? The indigenous religion of China is Taoism. Tao. T-A-O or D-A-O. Tao. The same stuff I teach, except I don't teach religious Taoism. I teach practice makes perfect. So anyway, so at this time, Taoist was in China. At the time, 2,000 years ago, there was a lot of Taoists around still. Now, what is the concept of Tao if you're just into practicing? Immortality. So in the Bible, they talk about everlasting life. In the Tao, they talk about immortality. Same thing. So in the Bible, they talk about three gifts. In the Tao, they talk about three treasures. The Jing, 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 the sexual energy. The Qi, bung, bung, bung. That's the solar plexus. The Qi, which is the life force. And the Shen, ding, dong, ding, ding, in the first eye, not the third eye, the first eye, we say in this temple. So you have three treasures in the Tao, and you have three gifts. 12 disciples come from 12 in China. A cross used to make 12 with a road, with two lines that could be interpreted as a road. Am I making this stuff up? Let's move on. I'll read this last. Let me just go through the revelation of the Magi. The second chapter, I read the first chapter. That was the introduction. Second chapter is about their names and their lineages. Now, in Matthew, in the Bible, they don't go into I think the names that we know came from artists that drew the pictures of the Magi in later years, Beelzebub and all that. They just tried to fit the names in where they thought the Magi came from. There's another purpose for me doing this video. And the purpose is, let me stuff myself back in there, but look, get my little knot going. The other purpose for making this video is, what is the esoteric tradition of Christianity? You want me to ask it again? What is the esoteric tradition of Christianity? People who follow Christ, everlasting life, and all that good stuff. Everybody has a esoteric or secret occult tradition. In Islam, it is called the Sufi order. They ain't worried about, praying and praying and praying. They sing, they dance, they spin. They spin a lot. Oh, don't atoms and stars spin? Didn't the Most High make it that way? So they spin. And then I don't know, y'all call yourself Hebrews, but that's not a real Hebrew, just mean you crossed across the water. But anyway, whole nother story. So you Hebrews / Jews called the esoteric tradition is called Kabbalah, the study of the word. Now we're going to talk about that because how do you communicate? And if your thinking is wrong, like you've been taught in these American schools, if your thinking is wrong, it means your words are wrong. And if your words are wrong, you cannot manifest anything. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. I can go on and on. But let's go on with the revelation of the Magi. So it has in the book their names and their lineages. Now, I'm not trying to remember the names, but their lineage, this lineage is said to come from Seth, who is, wait a minute, we forgot about him. We know about Cain. We know about Abel. Oh, wait a minute. There was another dude called Seth that had a whole another lineage. And the Magi is supposed to be his great grandchildren or stuff like that. That's the lineage. Just like you have lineages in the Bible. This one begot that one and that one begot and begot. They be begotten all the way down to Jesus. The dude y'all call Jesus, that's not his name. So, chapter 3, the transmission the transmission of the Magi's mysteries. Ooh, what's that? So Seth listened to the instructions of Adam. That's how it begins. So they're telling you that Seth was Adam's son. So this lineage is directly from the Most High to Adam to Seth, because Abel is dead, right? He ain't Abel no more. And what's the other one? Cain got kicked out and sent to the land. There was nobody else on earth, but he was sent to another land where the people would kill him. Anyway, whole nother story. There's nobody else on. Anyway, so the third chapter talks about Adam, with the how he listened and how he passed the book on down to Seth and from Noah, and Noah kept the book on the boat and all that good stuff, right? So now comes the prophecy. Oh, chapter 4, the prophecy of the star. Ooh. Seth's books are placed in a cave known as the Cave of Treasures of Hidden Mystery. The Cave of Treasures of Hidden Mysteries. So they didn't just say the cave, didn't they? You know how we do it? We like, yo, it's in the cave. No, you had to embellish. You can't just talk. You know, you're talking about something from the Most High. You be like, the Cave of Hidden Treasures. No, the Cave of Treasures of the Hidden Mysteries, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that is atop the mountain of victories. See, it goes on embellishing. The mountain of victories. Located in the eastern part of the land of Shir. The eastern part of the land. So we getting more east than the east. So I forgot that part. In your Bible it says they came from the east. What do we call China and Asia? The east, because we are the west. I'm not making this up. Okay, so in the fourth part, they go into Seth in the books and instructions of the Magi and what Seth told them they needed to do, blah, blah, blah. So in that part, Seth tells them about waiting for this star, not a Christ, not a Jesus, none of that. a star. They are waiting for centuries from Adam to Seth to them for this star to appear to them. The 5th chapter, the Magi's monthly ritual. So that's just it just goes into a little bit about how they meditated and how they took baths before they went up the mountain, blah, 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 blah. An excerpt from Seth's books of Revelation about Adam's fall. So that's chapter 6 through 10. So at chapter 11, we get the star's appearance to the Magi. So the Magi up on this mountain taking their baths and doing their meditation and stuff. And finally, since the time of Seth, they've been waiting for the star. And suddenly they're on this mountain and this thing so bright it blocks out the sun appears. It blocks out the sun. So the star come down and talks to him a minute. Right? And talking about all the things, blah, blah, blah. They ain't say nothing about no Jesus yet. So chapter 12. We at 12 now. Let's see what they talking about now. The star descends to the Mount of Victories. So when the star appeared, it must have been staying up there in the sky talking to these guys, right? Because in chapter 12, now the star comes down to the mountain. Whoa, wait a minute. Sounds like a spaceship to me. That's just my opinion. So in chapter 12, the Magi finished bathing and in the spring and they climbed the mountain of victories and they find a pillar of light. They find a pillar of light standing there. So chapter 12 goes into all that, how they met, how they finally met this star being or star child. I'm giving away stuff. So chapter 13, 13. Now, I made a video about, well, it wasn't about the 13, it was actually about the letter M. Yes, most of our most important words start with the letter M, like magic, which comes from magi, or like mother, or like man, or like money, or like mind, or like meditation, or like mysteries. Can I go on? So why do they tell us that 13 is bad luck when all the powerful words start with not M? Anyway, whole nother story. So in chapter 13, the epiphany in the cave of treasures. So the star gradually transforms itself into a small, humble human being. A small, you mean like the Twa people, which they call pygmies? That they have a statue of one of the Twa that started out, that began Egypt. Anyway, into a small, humble being and says to the astonished Magi, peace to you. Dude, you just came out of a flaming pillar of stars and peace to me. Anyway, so, it goes into all that, them actually meeting the being that was in this pillar of light. And evidently he spoke their language too, because they understood him. Okay, so he goes into all that. Then chapter 14, the Magi realizes Christ's polymorphy. I think that word means that they realize this is the one. That's him. That's not Keanu Reeves, but that the one. So they talk about all that in chapter 14. Chapter 15, the Father, or it, the Most High, speaks to the Magi. Oh boy, now we're getting really, what did the Father say? As the Magi rejoiced, they suddenly heard a voice from the heavens that reveals itself. eventually to be that of the Most High itself. Imagine you sitting there, wow, the Christ is with us. We've been the ones that picked, and the Christ is with us right now, chilling, we partying. And then suddenly everybody hears his voice, I am that I am. You understand? You don't be like, yo, that's the dude from heaven. You be like, oh shit. You don't say shit in the text. You understand? You hear a voice come out of heaven talking about I am that I am. Your ass gonna bow. Quick. I don't care what you believe in. Quick. You be like, anyway, the Father speaks to the Magi in chapter 15. Then in chapter 16, they go on a miraculous journey to Jerusalem. I guess the Father told him, take my child to Jerusalem. So, chapter 17, the Magi in Jerusalem. So that part, they talk about them being in Jerusalem. And the star leads them into the city, but its inhabitants apparently cannot see the star. Only the Magi can see the star. Chapter 18, arrival in Bethlehem. Again, they talk about their arrival in Bethlehem, what happened there. And then an epiphany in Bethlehem. As with the epiphany in the cave of treasures, here again the luminous infant, now it's a luminous infant, not a small human, gives a lengthy discourse to the Magi. He declares that their ancient mysteries have now been completely fulfilled with his bringing of them from Shir to Bethlehem. Shir, I can't get over that. They from 12 disciples. Anyway, so that goes into the epiphany at Bethlehem. Showing my gray hair. Can't show hair when you're a Magi. That's why we wear covers. The mask, actually, when they had the corona thing and they like, oh, y'all got to put on masks. I'm like, duh, I'm Magi. Why would? Great. And then I didn't want a mask because people told me to put it on. Figure that one out. So where we at? Chapter 17, the Magi in Jerusalem. Chapter 18, Bethlehem, blah, blah, blah. So we at chapter 19, right? What happened to 19? Oh, the Epiphany in Bethlehem. Okay. That's how we read that one. So, chapter 20, Angel's Paradise. Ooh. As the star child speaks with the Magi, the cave shines so much that it becomes like some other world. Suddenly, the voices of many, apparently invisible angelic beings offer praises to them. They praise his creation of the world, his complete unity with the Most High, and the salvation that it provides. So that's whole chapter 20. That's what they're going to be talking about. Chapter 21, the commissioning of the Magi. Now, what does that mean? When I was in the Marine Corps, if I would have been commissioned, I would have been an officer, a leader. So the Magi was commissioned by the Most High through his star child, Christ. And at the sound of these angelic praises, the Magi fall to the ground, terrified. The star child puts his hand upon them forcefully and confronts them. He tells them that as powerful as these angelic beings might seem to the Magi, due to their human frailty, they are insignificant to him. There are, in fact, other beings that even the angels are incapable of hearing or speaking about. Okay, so we going into some esoteric stuff right there because they just writing this stuff down. But if you study this, you're like, wait a minute, what? What did he just say? What? Huh? The angels, there's beings so high that the angels can't even see or hear them. So what level are we humans on? So what was that? Chapter 21. So chapter 22 talk about the Magi meet Mary. They just meet Mary and Joseph? Wait a minute, where was they when the star child was? Anyway, so that's chapter 22. They talk about meeting Mary and Joseph. In chapter 23, the Magi's revelation to Mary. Oh, wait a minute. Wasn't Joseph the man? Why are the Magi talking to Mary? Oh, in your Bible, they don't talk about Mary too much. The mother of Christ. The mother, of Christ. The Magi praise Mary for being chosen to give birth to the Son in human form. They tell her that her child is still inside of her and is in her house, even though he is also present with the Magi. So she's pregnant with the Christ, but the Christ just led them to his birth. Oh, it goes on. So that's chapter 23. In chapter 24, Mary speaks to the Christ. They're like, yo. So Mary speaks to the Christ after the Magi explain, yo, you got Christ in your belly. So in chapter 25, Christ blesses Mary. Now, wait a minute. Do they talk about Mary being blessed in the Bible, in your Bible? Mary just the mother of Christ, the mother of God. That's all. Let's not talk about her no more, much less the Magi who brought attention to the birth of Christ. What happened to them in the Bible? Oh, it became magic and evil. That's what happened to the esoteric tradition of the Christian. Somehow the people that found your God, that found the Christ child across deserts and brought gifts of gold, and suddenly in a few chapters down in the Bible, they become, or magic becomes an evil. Why? Because Jesus' brother, who called himself a Magi, was doing tricks. Whole nother story. So, chapter 24, Mary speaks to the Christ. Chapter 25, Christ blesses Mary. Chapter 26, the return journey home. So we're returning from Jerusalem. I left out a part. On the journey there and on this journey back, what was they eating? So, I'm not going to say that yet. So, the Magi addressed the people as Shia. So, when they get back home, they telling the people what they just went through. We went to Jerusalem, and the Christ was with us, and blah, blah, blah. So, why I asked about what did they eat on this journey, in their book, they said that the child flying above them in the sky was giving them this thing they called manna. So, and he gave it in abundance, both going and coming back. So when they got back, they had some of this stuff left over, this manna. So they gave it to the people after they told them all their adventures that they just went to Jerusalem and met the Christ and blah, 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 and gave the instructions that Christ gave them. they gave everybody some of this manna. Now, wait a minute. They already home. Why would they need to eat the manna if they're not hungry? Anyway, so they all eat this manna. I think that's what they call it. And everybody gets a different vision. Read the book. I'm not making this stuff up. Some people see Christ as a child. Some people see Christ on the cross. Some people see Christ as an adult. Some people don't see Christ at all. Wait a minute. Shouldn't everybody be seeing the same vision? What was the manna that they were eating that kept them from not getting hungry? That made time seem like it fly, because they came from China to Jerusalem and it seemed like a day to them. They came thousands of miles, thousands and thousands of miles, but it seemed like a such short time. What was this manna? Okay, chapter 26, to return home. 22 and 6 is 8. 8 is a big number in Taoism. Return home. The Magi address the people, chapter 27. The people eat the Magi's food, chapter 28. Judas Thomas. Now here I was talking about at the beginning. All of a sudden, some dude called Judas Thomas shows up out in the middle of the book, at the end of the book, talking about Jesus. Judas Thomas arrives in Shir, chapter 29. 29 don't even sound like a good number. And the wording changes all of a sudden. That's how you know when something been interjected, you know. Now we're talking about faith. Why do I need faith? I was just with the Christ. He was with me. He feed me some manna. I'm hang out with the Christ. But now we're talking about faith increases even more when the apostle Judas Thomas arrived. What? Wait a minute. I just took a trip with Christ. I just spoke personally with the Most High. But now faith increases because some dude named Judas, his name is Judas. Am I making this shit up? Excuse me, we don't say shit in the church. Am I making this up? Oh my God. So Judas arrives in Shir and start talking about Jesus. So I guess that's when preaching started, huh? The Magi received the Eucharist, and commissioned to preach. Wait a minute. They received the Eucharist and permission to preach. Wait a minute. Didn't I just read a part where, well, somewhere back here, didn't the Most High and the Christ commission them already? Why do they need to be recommissioned by Judas? This is where the shit gets a little shaky bullshit. We don't say bullshit in the church. So Judas Thomas arrives, chapter 29, the hymn of Judas Thomas. Now that nigga got a hymn. They didn't even make a hymn to the Christ. Why they make a hymn to him? A hymn to him. A hymn with a Y, to him with an I. Get up out of here. So that's going to be it for me. Well, that's about it anyway. The Magi received the Eucharist and a commission to preach. I was told by the Christ to preach. I don't need no commission from a Judas. You understand, overstand, understand? I don't need no, this is some bullshit that they put in there. The last chapter. Wait a minute, how the hell we get to 32? I guess because we was just at 31. So chapter 32, the preaching of the Magi. The Magi go out from there preach about the coming of Jesus Christ. This is the first time that name is mentioned in the whole book. Preach about the coming of Jesus Christ. He already came. And perform miracles and healings through his name. They preach to everyone, urging all to flee from the fearsome judgment of the fire that will come suddenly to purify the entire earth from error. By faith in Jesus Christ, all will be delivered from the fire and shall enter the eternal rest prepared for believers. You don't know shit, you just believe. Believers in his kingdom. At the end of the Magi's missionary speech, the compiler adds the story about the Magi and their gifts is finished. Who were the Magi? Excuse me for getting a little excited there, but when I see false teaching and false preaching, it's time for some kung fu punch. Anyway, who were the Magi? The Magi or Magi, the mystic warrior kings and queens of Christendom and cannabis. So, some people interpret this food from Christ as being either cannabis or mushrooms. Again, when you do your religious research, you're going to find that all your superstars of all your religions, the first religion, Zarathustra, was getting high. Moses in the Holy of Holies, how did you know he was in the Holy of Holies? Because all this smoke was coming up. I didn't make that up. It's right there in the Bible. The people that were sitting with him, they were sitting with Jesus. The place is full of smoke, and we heard voices. But when the smoke was gone, there was no one there. They was high. So, the mystic warrior kings and queens of Christendom and cannabis. The first superheroes, I call them the first superheroes. We have to get into the whole story of the Nubians. But after Kemet fell, after it became Egypt and the Arabs took over, the Magi became the sheriffs of Africa. So the Arabs had slaves all over, but the Magi became the sheriffs. They became the police. They wore black horses, and be like 1,000,000 of them. And when you see them coming, so that's why I call them superheroes, because they wore masks, they wore capes, even though they were all black, but they wore masks and capes, and when they come to fuck you up. We don't say fucked up in the church. So, the first superheroes, saviors, the founders of the three main religions. Oh, 3 wise men, 3 main religions. Why do I say that? Well, if you read the story, who's the guy that was supposed to start the 3 main religions? Abram, who, when he became Magi, crossed over the Tigris-Euphrates River and became Hebrew. Excuse me, not Magi. When he became Hebrew, you understand, then he's supposed to have founded Judaism, Islam, or Christianity and Islam, right? Because they all out there fighting for the same space in the same spot. But wait a minute. What was Abram or Abraham's father? I'll give you a minute to think about that. Terah, his name was. Look it up if you don't know. Terah was the chief Magi. Oh, wait a minute. The guy who started the 3 main religions said that y'all believe. His father, He lived with his father for 72 years. He was 72 years when he left when his father died. 72. He was older than I am now. And then he left his father because God told him to. Nigga, we don't say nigga at all. Anyway, let's move on. So, the three wise men or kings are the little known superheroes of Christ's Mass, Christmas, Christ's Mass, gathering for Christ, or a gathering for Christ, Christ's Mass. Oh, did you know that? It's not Christmas, it's Christ's Mass, gathering for Christ. Where did y'all go to school at? Oh boy. The Magi are the mystical secret order of the Bible story. They journeyed unknown miles following a star to the child Christ. But the Bible story is not complete and things have been added and taken away. The story of the Magi is the whole story of becoming Christ-like, having everlasting life, and heroism. Who were the real Magi? Who introduced cannabis? Why did they travel miles, then return home? What is the real three gifts meaning? Is one of the gifts cannabis? Where are the Bible Magi? And where are they now? When will the Christ return? And how can you become truly Christ-like, or a savior, or a super hero or hero? It's practice. Everything is practice. In the Kung Fu that I teach, my Taoist teacher in the back of his book says, if you practice these things, you will become super. You'll be able to see through. I'm not making this up. It's in his book. You'll be able to see through shit. You'll be able to be in many places at once. Things you think are impossible are not impossible. It takes practice like anything else. Let me finish up reading and then I'm out. The wise men, the Magi, kings, the other Bible story. That's what I just finished talking about. The Magi, or ancient Magi, did not follow Jesus, or Yahshua, or Abraham, nor Moses. They followed a star child, to Jerusalem, the city of peace. Jerusalem, city of peace. And beyond. The Magi in their own book say that the star came to them and was the baby Christ itself. And this Christ child fed them all the way from here, 12, to Jerusalem, where the child manifested, talked with the Magi. Then the Magi departed. If you were a Magi and Christ came directly to you, to your group, would you leave him or her like it says in the book? Or are they talking about some metaphorical story? That's why I say Bible story. Would you leave him or her as defenseless God child? Would you leave a baby that's God, the ruler of the universe? Harris said he's going to kill us. Oh, okay, let's go. Didn't we just come 10 billion miles? Anyway, as a defenseless God child, maybe maybe. But what is the real story behind the Magi story? How did they know Christ? Etc., etc. I just start asking questions from there. But let's end this video. Here, I'm not going to show it because it's all written all over the place. I put together a little, I have an idea for a play or from a play to a movie about what I just talked about. The Magi, their story, how cannabis fits in, how Tao fits in, how all these things come together into one story. The Tao, the Magi, and cannabis. I'm not making this stuff up. It's all real. Some stuff I might kind of interpret my way, but I'm interpreting from an educated point of view, not just I believe. I don't believe in anything. We don't have believers, we don't have followers, and I am not a leader. We don't need none of those three. Please, I'm out. Peace in the mind, peace in the heart, peace on earth. Peace. Where are my sisters and my brothers? I know you are out there. I know you are starting to feel this magic coming out of your DNA. I know you're starting to feel like you need to do something because the world is going crazy. Your family, your friends, everyone. People laying on the street. People don't know who they are, where they are, why they are. People making false reality on the internet with AI. It is time for the return of the Magi, or Magi, whichever way you want to pronounce it. I'm out.